Hi everyone, I'm so excited to start my new series which is called Dazza's Diaries, where I'm basically going to talk about my thoughts which I write in this book. Shout out to Molly Stevens for giving it to me ages ago and it's finally become my quote diary. This is something that I've done since I was 13. I basically note all the kind of inspirational quotes and like speeches that I hear or that I read or listen to, and then another section is my own thoughts that I just kind of come to me when I'm like maybe going to sleep or just walking around. So the entry that I would love to talk about today is my first entry of the year actually. This is January 2018, so here's what I wrote. You can't blame other people for the states you find yourself in. If you're stressed, hungry, or overwhelmed, you haven't taken enough care of yourself. Nobody but you is responsible for your peace of mind. This is a thought that was triggered when I was skiing with my family. Well, I wasn't actually skiing, but I was on a ski resort with my family. And I just sort of witnessed a lot of, you know, when you're skiing and there's crowds and it gets to like that part of the holiday season when everyone is kind of just together and there's so many people, and obviously there's massive queues to the lifts and there's just some people are bound to be frustrated, and I just kind of happen to observe so much of that kind of behavior where you're frustrated and you blame others, and especially in hotels, like people just blame you know, the staff or like, yeah, so I just observed a lot of that, and at the same time I was also reading a brilliant book which I've already mentioned by Tony Robbins, which is called Unlimited Power. And this wonderful book kind of just talks about how, you know, your physiological response to a stressful situation is your own responsibility. Like, you can control that. It is automatic, but you can train yourself so that like you don't react with anger when triggered, and you don't react with kind of fear, and it's kind of down to us. And I kind of was reading it, observing people, and I realized that actually, like, he's right. You know, it is our responsibility. You are in control of your response. Nothing can influence you unless you allow it to, right? Like, you've got these barriers which you can put in place. And this is something I really relate to mental health as well, because I literally think that as much as it's absolutely true that the mental health services are inadequate across the world in many places, and mental health awareness is still not where it needs to be, especially a few years ago when I was going through, you know, anorexia and OCD. It's still not even near where it needs to be in order for people to really receive the treatment in the quantities that they need. Nonetheless, I still think at the end of the day, you know, really taking ownership of the thought patterns which cause your kind of negative thinking or unhelpful thoughts, you know, intrusive thoughts. Those thought patterns are in our control. So as much as we can kind of complain that you know, we aren't getting enough attention, which is all true, and I'm not saying that, you know, mental health is treated in the way that it should be. Absolutely not. There's still far to go, but at the same time we can't sit and complain and do nothing about our own suffering, because at the end of the day, the only person who can actually alleviate our suffering is us. We're the ones who need help. So it should be our number one priority. The advice which is sort of like given to people to maintain mental health, such as mindfulness, for example. And mindfulness isn't just meditation. This is one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, because people assume that, you know, if I don't like meditating, mindfulness is not for me. But mindfulness is just the idea that you are aware of the present moment, and that can really help when you're, you know, going through moments of anxiety or stress, or you're just even with things like OCD, I find it really helpful to just quickly take my attention to my body parts and just think, okay, my fingers are touching whatever they're touching, and like just focusing on what's actually happening in the present moment rather than the future or the past or worrying. Of course, it's not going to cure you, but it's like, it's just something you can do to alleviate your own suffering, right? So why not do it? Mindfulness is not just meditation. Like, you can just stand in the shower, and instead of thinking about like your day or, you know, tomorrow, all you need to think about is just the water, like going out of the shower, the shampoo in your hands, like it's just taking your mind to what's actually happening in the present moment, which is really powerful. And I found that really helps me. At the end of the day, the only thing that exists is the present moment. So you got to make the most of it, right? And in order to make the most of it, you have to notice it. You can't just think about the future all the time. Thinking about the future is really important, by the way. You know, but what I'm saying is, like, noticing what's happening now is just as important. And there's so many other things, but basically what I'm saying is that mental health is our responsibility. It should be, regardless of the advances in science, which I'm really anticipating, and regardless of the advance in healthcare, which I can't wait to happen, advance in awareness. It's your responsibility to seek help, or to help yourself, or to do something, because at the end of the day, just taking one tiny step is better than doing nothing. And that's what I found for myself. Like, for about a year, I did nothing about this. And did I get better? No. But the minute I acknowledged that I need to get out of this state, the minute I started pursuing, like, the life on the other side of my anorexia and my OCD, that's the minute that things just started kind of falling into place, because I made consistent effort. To anyone who's struggling, and to anyone who knows somebody who's struggling, I just hope you guys realize how much power you have. I love you guys so much. I hope you're having a fabulous time. And yeah, that was my first entry of 2018. I'll see you next time.